Hi, I'm Teresa Chang.
Hi, I'm Marianne McCara.
Hi, I'm Felicia Grant Cummings.
Hi, I'm Kim Johnson with Moms Navigating Autism.
Hi, I'm Teresa Chang. Welcome to Moms Navigating Autism.
Hi, I'm Kim Johnson.
Hi, I'm Marianne McCara.
Okay, so elections are coming up for school budgets and Board of Education, and this is that time of year that not many people head to the polls to vote. But everybody has to understand that you need to go and vote. It's really important, especially if you have a child in the district, that you go out and vote. But before you vote, do your homework, all right? Look at the budget. Go on your school website. Look at what is the proposed budget. From what I'm understanding, some people are telling me that some budgets are exceeding what is legally supposed to be. Some budgets are that they're saying that there's a cap. I'm not sure about that. I've actually put out a few questions, and when I find out, I will put it on our Moms Navigating Facebook page. I do know that everybody's budget went up this year, and a lot of parents are not happy. I know Board of Education members are either they are going for the first time on the Board of Education ballot. Others are doing it again. And we're going to get into a conversation about all of this. And one big thing that I keep telling everybody is that you should look at the budget and you should see how much, especially if you have a child on the autism spectrum, if you have a child with special needs, you should see how much is being spent on special education. Some parents are telling me that their school districts don't spend a lot on special education. Other parents are telling me that their school district does. We all know which school districts do and don't, but you have a voice. You should go to the candidates forums, bring this up. You should go to Board of Education meetings, bring it up. It's really important that you be your child's voice and go out there and speak up. You should find out how your candidates feel about special education, about autism, about anything that you might be thinking. It doesn't have to be special needs. It could be music, it could be sports, whatever. But you have a voice and you should go and speak up.
I've always believed that there's no real good reason not to be informed about this because we all receive information on the budget in our mailbox. And we have ample time to review it and form our opinions. If you can't attend the candidate forum in person, it's recorded. You can watch it at your leisure. And it is good for every parent to inform themselves. Many parents might take a look at the budget and they'll say, okay, this is a large budget, a lot of money is being spent. How is it being allocated? How are my children being served? Are they getting the services they need? Are they not getting the services they need? For parents of typically developing children, many times they may take a look at graduation rates or SAT scores and figure, okay, this is a really large budget. So much money is being spent per child. Why isn't performance better sometimes in these areas?
Yeah, exactly. As I was mentioning earlier to my co-hosts, I found that Section 1804 of New York State education laws will list your Board of Education elections, the rules they have to follow. It lists their powers, what they can do while on the school board, what they can't do. As an advocate, I've had parents, because I've been advocating for, 10 years. I've had parents that have had enough of their school district runaround, so they joined their Board of Education. I know school board members from New Rochelle, Pelham, all the way up to Dutchess. And so I've spoken to different ones because I have that rapport with them. And I found that different school districts handle things differently. And I always said, well, how come, in this school district, they will talk to the parents, where in this other school districts, parents could write in to a specific Board of Education member, and that Board of Education member will send the superintendent to respond. While in other school districts, the Board of Education member will respond, they will meet with them, and then they will facilitate some sort of way for them to have their problem resolved. But other school districts, the Board of Education members won't do that. They won't speak. They'll just send the superintendent to talk. And I actually found out they can facilitate an email saying this person needs to speak to you or that person needs to speak to you.
That's what I was going to ask you about, as far as, like you're saying, hierarchy, because when I did address everybody last year with my son's situation, I addressed it to everybody. It was the superintendent, the Board of Education, the special education, and the superintendent is the one that responded. So depending on who you address, again, does it go by hierarchy, who's above, and is that why the superintendent is the one that reached out?
Actually, what I found out from people that I advocate for in this district, you wrote it to everybody on the school board. There are other people in this district that wrote to one Board of Education member,
Okay.
and superintendent responded.
Okay. So they probably forwarded on.
See, the way it was told to me, that if they're doing that, then that Board of Education member is not working for the people.
I recall some years ago when we first entered the district, I had an issue having to do with transportation. And I believe I addressed my inquiry to the operations person, but I also CC'd the superintendent and the members of the Board of Education. I didn't necessarily want a response from the members of the board, but I wanted them to be aware of my situation. So
who in end responded? The person whose department it was?
It was the operations manager who responded to me. It was a question having to do with transportation for actually one of my neurotypical kids, because you were only provided transportation at that point if you were a certain distance from the school in question. And initially they told us, no, you're not within the area. We won't provide you transportation. And then we asked them, could you please measure it again? Because when we bought this residence, we made sure what the distances were, because transportation was part of what we desired in moving to this particular location. So I was satisfied with the outcome. They measured the distance. What we knew to be true, they confirmed, and we were provided with the transportation services as we should be. So we had a positive outcome with our issue, thankfully.
Well, my son was in an out-of-district placement, and we always got the busing we needed. I know that at one point the I went to pick up my son because my son wanted me to pick him up, and the truth of the fact was he was being bullied on the bus. And so I went and picked him up, and I saw the bus leaving the school, and I was behind him. And so, because there was a light, so I was behind him. And then I saw the bus take off, and the road was 50 miles an hour.
Mhm.
So I was like, I have to see how fast this. So I kind of sped up, and he was going at 60 miles an hour. And then I slowed down. So I was like, this is ridiculous. He's going over the speed limit.
How
So,
much over the speed limit was he going?
well, I capped it off at 60. I was like, this is ridiculous. It's the road is 50 and he's going 60. He's already 10 miles over the speed limit.
Mhm.
So I got back and I went to call the transportation department, and nobody ever responded. And I call again and I'd email, nobody ever responded. So I said, that's it. I gave them 3 chances. After that, I called the Federal Department of Transportation and reported, because the transportation companies, they get their license from the Federal Department of Transportation. You got no license to operate, you can't operate. So you don't want to listen to me. I'm going to the next best place. They have to respond.
Sometimes kicking something higher up the food chain can help. I've also found that sometimes I will, make a phone call, send an email, might send a note in. And if I don't get a response after all of that, I'll say to my husband, okay, why don't you try? And 9 times out of 10, he emails, boom, they will respond to him. And I don't know whether there's some sort of, bias against, oh, this is a hysterical mother, let's just, shove her concern off to the side. My husband emails or calls, boom, instant response. It's like magic. So, but I try to get an answer myself first. If I can't get an answer, I'll say, please email them, see if they'll respond to you.
Right. Well, that was my way of handling. I figure there's always someone even above the school district. There's always someone above the school district, because transportation company cannot operate without their license, and let's go there.
Well, I remember the Mount Vernon School District tried to tell me that I could not record our IEP meetings. And I would always tell them ahead of time, I am planning on recording the meeting. I'm bringing in cassette recorder tapes. I'm going to record it. I knew that by law, I was allowed to record the meetings. And they tried to tell me, Mount Vernon tried to tell me, oh, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. So I called Washington and I reached this guy and he said, oh, no, he says, that's wrong. And he gave me chapter and verse of the law that guaranteed my right to record the meetings. So I showed that to Mount Vernon and said, oh, I think I can record the meeting, and I will be recording the meeting. Thank you very much.
Okay, so going back to elections. All right. So, everybody should get out there and vote. Very few people vote on the school district elections. You should go out there and vote.
I'm surprised at how low the turnout is.
Right.
For these elections.
Right. And there's some of you who are not happy with the school district. Everybody gets that. We understand. But if you feel a certain Board of Education member is not working right for you, don't just stay at home and say, I'm not voting because I'm mad. All right. Go out there. Vote against that person, because you not voting doesn't get anybody off. All right. You not voting just says you didn't vote. All the people that show up to vote, that's whose vote counted. Go out there and vote. All right.
Yes, your vote is your voice.
Right.
And you've got to use it, and you've got to make, what you feel known.
Right. So go out there and vote. Don't stay home. Do not vote. That doesn't do anything. All right. So go out there and vote against the person that you don't want there. And I'm not saying that this is how people feel. I'm saying this across the board in every district. All right. Not just ours, in every district. You're not happy with somebody. You feel that they're not working for you, or they're not working for the people or the parents or the students. Go out and vote against them. All right. And the other thing I have is, this is what this I feel this way about every elected position, whether it's, well, the president only has 2 terms, but whether it's mayor, council person, school board, they're not lifetime positions. I've been saying this for years. They're not lifetime positions. For me, after 3 terms, they should really be giving up that spot to allow someone else that has new ideas. You really need to let someone else go in. That's the way I feel. I don't know if that's the way everybody else feels, but that's how I feel.
How long is a term on the school board? I don't know, frankly.
I believe now it's in our district, I think it's 3 years.
3 years?
3 years.
3 years.
So
All right.
if you've been on the term for on the board for 4, 5, 6 terms, you really shouldn't be. You should allow someone else with new ideas to come in. I know, and I get it. There's people on these boards that have children in the school districts, children entering the school districts, children that, and they want to stay on top of things. But the only thing that guarantees is that your child's going to get something, not the rest of the kids. I feel that way about mayoral terms, council people, any elected position.
So 3 terms would be 9 years.
Yeah, but
Right.
it used to be 2 terms, 2 years, but they got changed over the last, I want to say 10 years, maybe less than that. It got changed to 3 years.
And do you think this is a position that many people want?
No, I think that's
mean,
why it's done. I don't think
you
a
know-
lot of people want it.
Yeah. I mean,
I think it's a lot of work with,
it's a lot of work, is perhaps underappreciated.
They do get the one trip a year that they get to the annual convention, whether it's in New York City, we pay for their hotel room, or it's across the state. They do get that one trip a year. But it should be a spot that allows for other people to come in and bring in fresh ideas, new eyes to what's going on, because people do get comfortable in their spots.
And perhaps new perspectives after a certain point would be useful.
Exactly. And so now the budget. I definitely encourage people to look into the budget. All budgets are listed on district websites. Look at the budget, see how much they're spending, I try to go in and look to see how much they're spending on special education, because it was affecting my son, how much they were spending on special education. And I think that that's something that every special ed parent is concerned about. I try to see what school districts have programs, and why doesn't our school district have programs, and what exactly are the programs? These are questions that parents should be asking. What are the programs in our district? Parents should have the right to know that. What programs are in our district that can help our children or help other people's children? Because like I said, it doesn't affect my child.
Now, what I wonder about, I've become aware that some districts are considering expenditures for electric vehicles, for school buses, for converting from the system they're using to a new electric system of transportation, which presumably would be cleaner and greener and, less of a harmful impact on the environment, which is all well and good. But I have to wonder, all right, will that be taking anything away from the students and, instruction?
Isn't a lot of that money coming from grants though, for those?
I'm honestly not aware of how much is coming from grants.
And how much is from the school district?
Yeah.
Well, if it is, parents should have the right to know if it is.
Right. I mean, and if it is a grant, will the grant end after a certain time period, and then the burden of cost gets, placed on the school?
Yeah. These are all good questions. I'm sure we're not the only district that parents are thinking about this. some districts probably they're not really concerned because they have more money than we do.
Mm.
But, you know, other districts, they might. I think everybody should go look at the budget. Like I said, that is my interest. I always look at special ed, see how much is being spent, but not just the special ed budget, see how much they're spending in music, sports. You know, all of this should be in the budget. How much is being spent on more teachers? How much is being spent, you know, and if we're spending more money on teachers and such, how come we're rating so low? You know, or check to see where your school district is rating, because you understand if they're bringing in more teachers so that we can keep a decent rating, you understand why they're bringing in all this. But if they keep doing it continuously every year and yet we're still continuously are not rating so well, then that might be a problem.
Well, you know, every year Westchester Magazine publishes rankings for public high schools and private high schools.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, Peekskill and Yonkers and Mount Vernon typically are towards the bottom of that list.
Always the richer school districts are closer to the top.
Well, yeah, is you know, Ardsley, Bronxville, Scarsdale, Katona.
Okay, so Ardsley spent a lot of money on their special education department.
Mhm.
They have a great, just like Pleasantville, they have a great special education department.
Chapel I too.
Their response to intervention is there. I mean, so when a child has special needs and you're noticing it at the young age, they can quickly swoop in, help that child so that when he or she gets older, they don't have that problem anymore. Where other school districts, their response to intervention is not that great. So if they ignore the problem, it's only going to get worse along the way, which is one of the reasons why grades our scores might be lower. But that's just one part of it. But like Ardsley spends a lot of money on special education.
Mm. I mean, I've always heard, you know, of parents who might even choose to relocate to Ardsley, rent a home in Ardsley or buy a home in Ardsley purely for the school district.
Right.
People will move to where there is a good school district or where they believe their child can do well. Yeah.
Okay, so the other thing is over the last few years, they've since the pandemic hit, one of my clients went in to vote, and she was handed a piece of paper that said, if you haven't voted in the last 3 years, you cannot vote this time.
You know, that sounds vaguely familiar to me.
Okay,
I think I may have heard that from someone else as well.
probably heard it from me.
But that can't be correct.
No,
I mean, that can't be legal.
This is only for the election.
Huh?
This is only for the board of director election or any election.
For the budget and the Board of Education. They would not allow anybody who didn't vote within the last 3 years to come in and vote.
Nobody called them out on it.
No, I was like, but see, I had already moved, so it didn't affect me. You have the right to vote. They cannot tell you cannot vote. They should not be giving you something that says if you haven't voted in the last few years, you cannot vote today. You have the right to vote today, regardless of whether you voted last year, or the year before, or the year before that. You want to look for a good school board. So you want to make sure they say that there's 5 things you should look for. What you need a school board that sets a visions, that has high expectations for strong student outcomes. That's number 1. You want one that sets practical guidelines for transforming that vision that they have. Right? You want a board that demonstrates accountability. They share responsibility with things that go right and wrong in the district. You don't want one that's pointing fingers at other people, one that shows accountability. You want one that plays a leadership role in your community. You know, they listen and they respond to the concerns of the communities, you know, and they explain what the district's priorities are in the policies. And I think the last one is you want them to forge a consensus. They're going to have lots of different issues with diverse opinions all over the place, especially today. The goals should remain the same. You know, you don't want them flip-flopping from one opinion to another. Oh, you want to be able to have them reconcile differences.
Well, those all sound like very sound ideals to aspire to. Yeah.
Right. And their main goal is service of the students. You know, so, you know, that's something that I feel that everybody should look for in a school board, across the board, all over New York State, or in your community, wherever you're listening to us from, if you're here in the United States, or if you have a school board in another country, wherever you are, that is something that you want a school board to be able to do. That school board also responds to the parent. You know, you voted them in, they have an obligation to you.
Thank you, Altice, for providing us with this platform.
And we want to remind everybody that we are parents. We're not professionals. We're sharing our experiences so that we can help you with your autism child.
Follow us on social media. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe. See you next week.